Should we start?
Yeah.
You ready? Cheers.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Cheers. All right, I'll do a intro. Ooh, that one's different, wasn't it?
It's good. It's sweeter.
It is. All right. Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Marketing for the Uninhibited podcast. Today, I'm here with Emily. Do you want me to use your last name?
Sure, why not?
Emily Walker?
Yeah.
Emily Walker of Emily Melissa Photography. And we're going to hope to talk about branding and photography and photo shoots, but we probably will talk about so much else.
We're going to hope to. We're gonna try really hard.
Fingers crossed that this is not a 4-hour episode for you, but no promises.
Like the podcast we were just talking about, which shall not be named.
So Emily and I met through our friend Sheris, and I hired Emily to do a brand photo shoot, and she came here, and that was, we just hit it off from there.
Yeah. Really?
Like
been homies since?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We tried to record this podcast another time, and that was a real shit show. The dog was here, and then Marshall and Rebel got home, and then there were people like knocking on the door.
Yeah.
The whole thing was so comedic.
We had a lot of great tangents, though. We had a lot of great threads.
We did. We tried. We really tried. But today we're back again to do it again. So, okay. So let's start with brand photography. So we can talk about it.
Okay.
In the beginning.
Okay.
So one of the things that we talked about when you were here and we were shooting, and then when I got my photos, is that like you can't fix the person, right?
Yeah. So I remember when you talking about like how getting your photos back, and there was a photo that like kind of like upset you.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And I remember talking about like how it's like one of the reasons why I got over delivered. So I know like a lot of photographers like to keep a very limit, like, okay, you get 10 images regardless. Right. So I like to deliver more than that because I know how I see myself, and I know how I witness other people see themselves as well. Mm-hmm. And I just know like how from the outside in, like, what's wrong with that photo? Right. It's a beautiful photo. Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful photo, but you don't really have a concept of what the person, how they see themselves. Our worst critics. So I try to give people like a variety of things.
Yeah.
But sometimes, a variety of options rather. Sometimes like it's so easy. It's like every other facet of life, right? Like how you don't always celebrate your wins as much as you kind of ruminate over your losses. Mm-hmm. It's like the same thing with photos, right? It's kind of like
that one out of 100
hideous photo.
Yes.
Gosh, I look like an elephant man or something like that, right? Like it's like you're hung up on that one. You can have like 100 positive reviews, and then one person says something like, "She all right, wasn't really worth the money." Like, I gotta quit. I gotta find a new job. Like really, that 99% success rate. And it's like, but no, it was terrible because it's one person. But you're not gonna love them all, which is easy to say, but it's also difficult to see yourself in a way you didn't want to or wasn't prepared to see yourself.
So even when you pay for a professional to shoot your photos, you're not going to love them all. Right. That's just like part of the deal, right?
Right. And it's and that's a hard thing for some people for all of us to understand, because we live in an economic environment where consistency is king, because you want to know when you get a McDonald's cheeseburger in San Diego, it's going to taste like the one you got in New York. Right. So you want to make sure, like, okay, if I book this person, I spend my money on this person, I'm going to like them because they're all going to look like this. But it's not the way. We're human beings. You're capturing humanness.
Yes. Right? And that's okay.
Yeah. And there's been plenty of times where people, even myself, where I book a session and I'm like, oh, I hate that photo, but I don't delete photos of myself. Because sometimes your mood just change, you change, and you appreciate things differently later. You ever post a photo of yourself, you're like, oh, I look sexy. Yes. I am like, they gonna love this one, right? And you're like, literally like, the hell was I thinking? A good picture, and it goes both ways.
Oh, that's true. And I think that people, so let's talk about expectations people have, when they hire a photographer, like you're going to edit, right? And one of the things you do is you don't give people originals so they don't see the edit.
Right.
Right.
Because like it's my camera's like 30 something megapixels, and then I sometimes use lighting, and so you just see more things that you would even see if you looked in the mirror. Right. You just like, because it's supposed to like the tech is based on like clarity, and she's like, look how clear it is. I don't want to see every pore on my face.
Correct.
I don't want to see every wrinkle.
Yeah.
Especially when I'm smiling like, hi, and see everything that comes.
Yeah.
No.
Where your teeth are not as white as you want them to be.
It's like gosh, like why are my eyes whiter than my teeth? And so like even having a conversation with myself, I stopped showing people. I recently just did a headshots for one of my clients this past week. And I was doing headshots for executives, and executives aren't always used to being told no. And this is like a Fortune like 100 company. And he's like, okay, can I see the back of the camera to make sure I'm like to make sure like I'm sitting right over. No, you can't see it, but you're gonna trust me. We can try a few other things so you have some options, because I need to let them trust that I'm the expert in this. Right. 2, I need to trust that I'm the expert in this. Yes. And 3, it's like they're going to try to correct some. If they get deflated, they see the back of the camera and like, oh, that's not how I look at. Oh, is that how I look? They get hung up on things that's not going to be an issue when they get the final product. So I need to, so I don't want to deflate them like that. So I rather, it's much easier for me to work with a subject who is more of a neutral or uncertain stance than someone who's in a negative stance and like, oh, I look fat, my double chin is showing, that wonky eye is being wonky. Like, you know what I mean? Like we all have like these weird, like, we all have these hangups, right? Yes. So like I just decided like, I'm just stop showing them the back of the camera. And then if they like it, they do. If they don't, they'll rebook. Or if I have like a policy like for people who want to do a reshoot, and it's usually I don't like, especially if it's something reasonable. And I in our criticisms of ourselves are often dismissed as unreasonable. But I think we deserve to see ourselves in, every human being deserves to see themselves in a good light. Yeah. At some point in their lives, right? Hopefully consistently. Yeah. And I think the point, but that also has to start with yourself. Like it does. I like the idea of not seeing the back of the camera, because I feel like that interrupts the flow. And like you get in a creative flow because this is your artistry. And then as the person being photographed, you also get in a flow where you're like, you do have to trust the person you hire, and you have to feel good about that connection, because it is a bit like a very vulnerable process. It's very vulnerable. Because, I mean, vulnerable. And I looked at some of those photos and I was like, okay, my waist probably doesn't look like that, but I'm going to go with it. Like, thank you. That's why I don't tell people, like, I think I was saying before how people look at one of the things that like was epiphany for me is when so there's sometimes like if I photograph someone and they're saying like, could you like edit my stomach? Like I'm still really fat. When they ask for it. Yeah. And like make sure you tuck this, or like, don't make me so fat in this, or my arms are fat, right? And so one of the things that was like a huge epiphany for me was when a few times I had reshaped someone. I tried not to make it look drastic, but reshaped someone. Like, oh, these photos look great, but could you just do something about my stomach? Because it's like it was just looking some kind of way in this dress, and I'm not gonna be like, well, I already did look at it before. No, yeah. So I gotta like just like, okay, I'll make some adjustments, and usually they're happy with that. But just knowing that it's almost delusional when we commit to that critique of ourselves. Right. It's like, if I think my eyes are too far apart or something like that, I'm going to see that regardless. If I don't know if you see it, I'm going to see it regardless. Whatever you show me, even if somebody make an adjustment, I'm like, okay, could you do something with my eyes? Yeah. Damn near touching. I'm like, could you do something with my eyes? Yes. So that was like epiphany for me. Like for me, how I in my self speak, it's been revolutionary for my self speak. I'm like, girl, you in your head about that. Ain't nobody else even thinking about that. They all, and how people talk about themselves. They all see themselves. Nobody even notice. No one notices, right? No one. Well, a lot of the things people tell me, like, all right, could you get this side? Because like one of my eyes is kind of like this way, and other eyes like that way. And I'm thinking like all these little things I've like I've stared in the mirror about myself for years. Being like, I'd be so much prettier if I could just change this, if I could just nudge this over, or if I could just do these things. But it's all about like how when people, one of the things that started to bug me, it bugged me more often than not since I've been doing this, is when people say like, she was just wearing something she shouldn't be wearing.
Oh my gosh.
That thing, like, it grates me, because if you wear something with authority, no matter what you're wearing, you're gonna look good in it.
Right.
If you wear it like you rocking it, people gonna feel it.
Yeah, the energy and the confidence. And
yes.
So what do people need to do? I know what I did the day of the photo shoot. Well, first of all, I had picked out outfits and tried them out, and I felt good about those. So I planned that out.
I love your shoot. I showed your shoot. My mom was like, "These are so great." And showed me website. I love that she picked that one for her homepage. I'm sorry.
That's amazing. Well, the one of me. So that's the other thing. I think as much as there will be things that you're like, oh, I don't like that pose as much, or I don't like that angle of me. There were so many great surprises. I was like, damn, I love that one, where I'm like laughing. And I sent that to like my best friend and my mom, and everyone was like, I can hear you laughing in that photo. Like, that is perfect. And Marshall loved it, but yeah, it was amazing. So like I feel like, but you have to be open to this as the one being photographed, where I was very open to you as the artist, like having full control. Like I planned out my outfits, and I had the rooms in the house that we wanted to get and some props. But I also, so like that morning I worked out, because I knew that would make me feel better for so many reasons. Right. And then we had some champagne. And so I'm like, relaxing.
That's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. Because I think the champagne, there's something so symbolic about having like sharing champagne. But we had champagne, and you burned sage.
Yes. And we lit an incense.
Yes. And that it said the whole time. Like, I think there's something so beautiful about, I think all my sessions should start with champagne, because it's celebratory. You're letting yourself be recorded. Right. Yeah. You're conditioning an artist to come into your home and record you. That's powerful. That's something that was like only like designated to the elites up until like so long ago, right? Yeah. Like, yes, I'm having my portrait done.
Oh my gosh. And I had never done it. So for me, that was the first time, like having someone that wasn't related to me take photos of me.
That's powerful. That, like, for both of us to be involved in it, that's a powerful thing. So like it sets the tone, because I think sometimes like it's like people we get in our heads about like, okay, I'm coming, like I'm sorry, I'm going to talk on myself, but like come in like, okay, I have these Pinterest ideas and I want to be captured this way, and I want you to do this. And it's like, so you're already like sitting in these very rigid structure for how it's going to go and for the person you're inviting in. Or if I came in, it's like, okay, so I have these 3 poses, and so I have these 3 poses in this specific condition. So I'm already like, I'm confining you to those things instead of just being like, all right, let's just see how it goes. We'll have little champs. I don't call it that for real. I don't really call it that. Like,
we'll have some champs.
Don't anybody quote me like, yes, I heard someone say champs. Like, please don't do that.
Oh, you've been in the suburbs too long.
Right? It's been like what, 2 hours? Yeah. But like, no, like it's so you gotta kind of like let humans be human. Let humans do human shit. And just kind of find the beauty in that unfolding of it. Does that sound too hippie?
No, I agree with you, because I feel like you're getting into a flow state, and there's like real scientific support for because we hit a stride creatively, right? Where we were just like, we were moving from place to place. Right. We were like, you were in the zone. I was having fun. So part of what you had said was like, in the beginning, you'll take some photos and just like feeling it out, right? Yeah. We never worked together.
Getting warmed up.
Yeah, we're getting warmed up. And then you said the point is to like get you relaxed, because then when you relax, there's the authentic side.
Because it's not a pressure to be like, all right, so let's start. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that, but I'll take a picture of it if that's what you want. But it's like for both of us, right? Like, it's like I'm still getting my settings right. I'm still feeling, because it's a lot of times like I feel people like I'm vibing with people, and then the camera comes out and they're like stiffen up, right? It's like completely forget everything we were talking about,
right?
And I get it, because it's like oh, but it's just a tool. It's a tool.
Right.
We can relate on this way. And like if anything looks awkward, I used to be like, don't worry, y'all. Like if anything looks awkward, like, okay, should I fix it? Like, don't worry.
Right.
Let's get in our flow. And then if you still want to fix it, or if I see something, okay, adjust this, then we'll adjust it. But like it's for both of us. And that didn't come a part of my my flow, which sounds so weird to say, because I feel like I'm like so abstract with things. But my flow until like the last 2 years or so, because I notice how people like immediately change, like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, are you breathing? You're not
right. Are you breathing? Yeah, and you said that so many times in the photo shoot. Like, are you breathing? Like, relax.
That's what people immediately start doing. It's like they're getting the pap smear. Like, like, all right, you can breathe. Yeah. This is a shoot, but this is not a gun. This is just a camera.
Right.
But it's like it's for both of us. It's like for me, before every shoot, no matter how long I'm doing this, I get nervous because it's like meeting a new person, right? You meet a new person, even if it's somebody you've already met before, you haven't met them in the context of taking photos of them,
right?
So it's like introducing a new thing, or being like, hey, I want to add a third to our relationship. Yes. It's exactly like that. Like, hey, so how do you feel this third thing to our relationship? Right. But it's and I get it, and that's why I book photo sessions for myself at least once a year, through other photographers. Some of them I know, sometimes I don't know, and it's to remember that. Right. I gotta remember that. And it's none of my photographer friends, like most of them, don't do that at all. And if they do it, they won't let you they want to be able to edit it, and themselves. So like so they want to take that control, right? Because it's too scary. You're like, okay, I gotta trust you to see me, and trust that you're gonna edit what I want you to edit. But I try to let go of that control. I let go of that control because it wouldn't be fair.
Yeah, well, because you trust the process.
Yeah,
like their process as an artist. Whereas like if I were to hire, and I have hired like business coaches before, sometimes it is hard to surrender to their process, but you have to remember why you hired them. Yeah, to do their craft, which is why I think you really, when you hire anyone, but like especially in this case a photographer, you really have to trust them, because it is a vulnerable act. It's like
extremely vulnerable.
It's open up.
Vulnerable. It's like going to therapy, or like when you go to the doctor and you're sitting there in that horrible lighting and you're in that paper gown, right? And like those stirrups, right? Oh, it's like there's nothing. It's there's no hyperbole when I say that. It's vulnerable because you're being seen, like you're being observed. You're being observed in this way that no one's observed you. And it's like lots of I take photos of, I do headshots for executive leadership, and you can immediately tell in a lot of ways that a lot of these people haven't had to be observed in this way, especially by a Black woman, by a Black woman who looks to be half their age, right? It's like something like it's an energy. It's like nothing tangible. It's just an energy, like someone who's been distinguished and have gotten like all these multiple degrees and been like a leader of all these other companies and stuff. It's something different. And so like it's my challenge, like to give them like, no, I got you. Don't worry, I got you. Yes. And one of my favorite things about that is, and sorry, I'm going to change this one. My favorite things about that is like I talk to people, even if I have like 10 minutes with you or an hour with you, I just like talk to people, and a lot of these guys I get to like, they'll laugh, and then I'll start like snapping pictures and I'm like, oh wait, and I'll try to go back to serious, and it's hilarious. It's like
yeah. Like, why is that what we want?
Right. They want to look because in their mind, like, I'm so distinguished. I can't let them see me laugh.
Right. Like the actual portrait. So so along that same thought, like I feel like people have this is how I'm supposed to look, right? So do you find when people hire you for a brand photo or for like couples, because you're a wedding photographer. So when people hire you for couple shoots or whatever, that they like, it's too contrived. Like their Pinterest board is too thorough. It's gone beyond inspiration.
Oh yeah. So much I've stopped. I used to tell people to send me their pin boards.
Oh god.
Or whatever you call them, like pin boards, something like that.
Yeah.
I haven't logged into Pinterest in like 2 years because it was so bizarre. It was like, it's like if we can't find me, right, and you're like, okay, so I have my cup of coffee here, I'm gonna have my my MacBook Air that I just bought today because I saw it in other people's pictures. I'm gonna put it on my lap, and I was want like my glasses to be like, like, do you wear glasses? I haven't seen you wearing glasses. Like, no, I bought glasses for this, right?
Oh my
so people are like, and they don't always realize that they're shoehorning themselves into that. Sometimes it just comes after the fact. I'm like, okay, could you do something with my arms and editing on like my arms? Like, well, why did you get a sleeveless dress? I don't understand. I think anything's wrong with your arms, but if you don't, okay,
if you're not comfortable,
right? So like so I like to let people be themselves, and how comfortable they are with themselves reveals itself very quickly, like very, very quickly. If somebody send me 100 pictures, like, can I just give you your money back and go about my day?
Oh wow!
Because this is I'll have to refer like a therapist,
no,
a life coach,
yeah,
some episodes, some podcasts. I'm really vibing with a book, and it's just not gonna work out because it's not saying that you have to be like completely comfortable with yourself, because that's a battle, right? That's something we're all going. It's an ebb and flow. Something we're all going through, and I don't know if there's a victory to it. Where it's like, all right, I'm cool with myself. For the rest of my life, I'm gonna be like grade A. But it's if you're trying to replicate, you're just going through and trying to replicate what you think you are supposed to be. Like it's great to have inspiration.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful, it's a phenomenal thing to have inspiration. Like everything we do is inspired. But you gotta still make room for you. Like you should come through louder than anything else. Like we shouldn't be replicating, okay, this pose and this couple did this pose and then they did this and the photographer did this. And so we're like, something like if I came in like, okay, we got these 3 poses, and you were telling like, okay, we got to do these things. And it's like, it's not going to be fun, and the photos are going to look just uninspired.
They look posed.
Yeah.
And if that's what you're going for, then maybe that works out.
You're gonna have to hire somebody else.
Yeah, right. Because I feel like so many, or at least the audience here, will be interested in like the genuine, how do I get myself to come through? And I think part of that is having inspiration, but then also letting go of some of that control.
Yeah, and deciding like, I'm gonna rock with me or not. I'm gonna really rock with myself or not. If you can find, and I really hope, I always hope that people find more than one. But when I book shoots, if I can find one photo that I like of myself, it's a success.
Yeah.
If I can find one photo like, this is a really cool photo of me. Right. Then it's worth it. But I think, sometimes we caught up in quantity. Like, all right, if I pay for a bag of chips, I want a bag of chips, you want to open it and find like 4 chips at the bottom. Right. We caught up in quantity. Even if those are the best 4 chips you ever had, then you're really mad because like, no, I want a whole bag of these 4 chips. But if I can find like, if I book a shoot and I even have to pay like $1,000 for it, $10,000 for it. If I book a shoot and I get one great photo of me, that's amazing. And because it's, what do I need? I'm not gonna print out 10 photos of myself and hang 10 photos of myself in my house. Right. It's just not gonna happen.
I think, and you can put it's been nice to use. I've used some of the photos that were my favorite in other places. Like you can tuck them into little places you didn't even think about. And that's what I would say for people who are thinking about having a photo shoot, like where do you want to use those photos?
Yeah.
You know, like I knew I needed to refresh my photos everywhere. So I was thinking my homepage, my about page, you know, like you plug in.
And I love the way you use your photos, by the way. I absolutely love the way, like, even your homepage, I'm just like, this is just so great.
The homepage one is my favorite, but then I saved the middle finger one for my birthday.
Yeah, I love that.
You know, like that was so fucking cool to be able to use that, because I was saving it. I knew that like it had to be something. I had it on my about page for a little bit, and I took it down. I'm like, this isn't profound enough for this photo because there's so much energy. And that was like one of the last photos of the day.
It was. And I've been trying to figure out, like, it's funny because I've been trying to figure out, me, like, it's with so much of my pages become like couple centered and wedding centered, that like my branding stuff, I'm like, wait, how do I incorporate this stuff back into it? Because like I've created this audience that's looking for this one thing. Yeah. And so I have all this whole other bodies, all these other bodies of work that I'm trying to figure out, like, wait, I also do this other thing. Yeah. But then it's also Instagram. So like Instagram like kind of rewards you for staying in your lanes. You can find like other, it's weird. But that's one of my favorite pictures ever. Ever. I'm gonna figure out how to use that picture. It's gonna be epic when I do.
Yeah, that's what I said too. I was waiting, and then the response I got, you know, like people they loved it, and they were like, "This is a good," because I do feel like it captured a side of me that doesn't always get exposed. Yeah, like, you know, talking about after dark and stuff like that, where there is this other. I mean, we all have dark sides, and we all have different sides, right? But. And so I think that was fun. It's like we don't get PMS, right? Yeah. Like it's like the day and night cycle. It's like, all right, this is time for this part. It's like, oh, it's time for this part. It's like, but yeah, it's like this other part. Like I'm not like this over here. Like, hi. Yeah. Correct. I'm MTOG. You may also know me as Emily Melissa. Like you have like, we're dynamic, we're human, we have duality. So they have that. It's like people can remind like, oh, this is a human being. People connect. People love that more than they loathe it. Yes, because they don't have to if they contact you, they don't have to put on airs. They don't have to be like, "Hi, Miranda. My name is like," like you know, just give you this whole like. Yeah. I don't know how to put it. Like I know some like the thing I can relate to the most is like code switching. So when you go into an environment, you have to use a professional language and use like proper English, and especially when people don't know you, right? You're putting on this certain persona. You're turning it on. Yeah. Like when people feel like when they see that, like, oh, cool. Okay. So somebody I can like just really talk to or just have a drink with. Right. Or a bunch of drinks in my case. Because what we were talking about earlier too is that people are nuanced, right? Like, and there's so much nuance, and that comes up in branding too. Like your brand, we have parameters for brands, but you don't have to live in those parameters all the time, and also you get to decide what those are. And so and you can step outside of them sometimes, even if like I talk about brand pillars, those 3 words are yours. You can step outside of that too, and it doesn't make you like not genuine or inauthentic or any of that. Like that just is, it makes you whole, like every, like the dark and light thing. Yeah, like it was like how we're sometimes forced into consistency, and it's I don't believe it's a human thing to be consistent. And sometimes consistency forces us to like to stay in mediocrity. Sometimes like it's like, okay, well I gotta commit to this major because when I was 18 I decided I want to be in that major. So when I graduate, I need to find a job in this major because I decided a long time ago. Right. And sometimes people use that consistency for like sort of like a security blanket. Yeah. But we're not. You can just change your mind about things. You can, or even not even change your mind. You can be both. Yin and yang is yin and yang for a reason. Each piece of those has like the light part has a dark part in it. The dark part has a light part in it. Right? You can be both. You can be both. And your brand is capable of holding all of that. Like it can sustain that. It can sustain both. Yes. And there will inevitably be people who get turned off by one thing or the other. Yeah. But they're going to be turned off by things anyway. Like there will always be people that are like, no, and they probably unsubscribe. Yeah. They really haven't recognized the duality in themselves. Right. Right. Which is that what you want? You want to work with somebody who's like that rigid? No. It's no fun. I mean, I'm not saying they don't deserve people to work with. I'm shut up about that.
but those are people work with. But if you're already like worried about turning certain people off, then you're inviting those people in enough to like where you're tailoring yourself to that, to where it'll still be a pain to work with, even if they were the type of to book you or to want your services or products. It'll still become a pain because you ever heard like an artist, like even a musician, right, who changes their sound in the next album, like, this is awful. Yeah, I want that old that old records. Like, right. Has artistic liberty. They can go in different direction. Like, just be open to it. If you like the previous albums, just see where they're going. Like, no, this is crap.
It's like when you pay for a concert because you want to hear the way they sang on the CD. The CD. Oh my god.
Oh god.
I know, but
the cassette tape.
Right. Rebel calls everything an album because she like. That's how she started listening to music on a record player. So now everything is an album. But
she doesn't recognize how cool that is. But that's yeah,
she'll know one day. But so it's that where it's like you, and there will be. So if that's the type of, there will always be people who cater to that type of person, and that's okay. But you don't have to be. So you just have to decide. And then not resent it, because I think there are people who try to cater to that person who's like, stay in your lane. It's artistically, and then they resent it. And then
it's so, there's so much of them that it's, oops, excuse me. I didn't come on. There's so many of them that it's heartbreaking. It's like, I know other artists who kind of feel like and operate like they're factory workers in a way that they're assembling this one piece. And they've been known to assemble this one piece. Like, this is their part of the line, right? They're just making this one thing and making it over and over again. And they hate that. And they hate that people keep booking them for it.
Right.
But it's in their imagination, it's the only way they can consistently make money. So that word consistency again, make money or have a quality of life. It's just like they can't see anything outside of that. And the clientele can't see them making anything outside of it. So they just keep making this, replicating the same thing. And they're so unhappy. It's like just as unhappy like as being in a cubicle and doing the same thing. And we find ourselves unhappy with that. Right. Like, just like, okay, every day I come into work, I do the same thing. Right.
Yeah.
Like every day for breakfast, I have the same thing. But it's like, it's a self-imposed.
It's self-imposed. Right.
Yeah.
It's like when that type of thing, but you go from working a 9 to 5 for someone else to like restricting yourself to those same hours.
Yeah.
Or not giving yourself flexibility to do other things. And like, I applauded someone on Instagram today because she was just saying that their kid is not sleeping. And so like they will have limited stock this week in the store. And I was like, good for you. Like and she was saying that she felt guilty about it on so many levels. And I was just like, that is what the freedom that comes with being your own boss, is that you get to say that. Yes. And as long as you're communicating that to your people, so they know a heads up, that's it. Like,
it's powerful.
Yeah. It's just communication and honesty. And people have a hard time with that. Like I announced this week, that there are no podcasts coming out this week because honestly, I forgot to record the journal prompts.
Good, because I'm tired of you calling me out on your podcast. So good. I need a break. I need to talk to you.
Yeah, everyone. And I had 2 people tell me this week they needed to catch up. And I'm like, you know what? It works. It works for everyone. So I just told people like, no podcast this week. And I didn't make it a big deal. I wasn't like beating myself up about it. I have one ready to go, but I didn't have the rest. So I just thought like, why not just take the whole week off?
And it's like, even like, I've been known to communicate stuff on the back end instead of the front end, because like the way I process things is sometimes I don't see the picture until a bit has passed. Right. So like, okay, I don't really feel like posting on Instagram today. And then I realize I'm at day 1 of this 4-day spell of, and so I come back like, yeah, I've been in some kind of like mood. It's been like overcast days. Anybody else like feel like they can't do anything overcast? Like I come going back in to like kind of just not explain myself, but kind of tie it back to just being the person that I am and recognizing like, I just don't like it's just exploring myself,
right,
and exploring the world and exploring other humans. Like, anybody else like feel this way about these things? Or like, yeah, it's like life just got too much and got overwhelmed. So I focus on these things over here, and now I'm back here. And people respond to that because one of my most popular posts on Instagram has been like, one of the things they tell you to do like everywhere as entrepreneurs is like, when people inquire about your business, respond to them as soon as you can. As soon as you can, otherwise they're gonna go and find someone else, right?
Yeah.
Like within 24 hours, ideally, within 72 hours for sure. And I had like a series of things that were just happening in the summer. And whenever I go on, like, your iPhone asks you, like, you want to go in low power mode? You got 20% left. I'm going low power mode. I focus on the clientele that I have already paid me money. And as people like already booked. So I'm like, okay, I'll get back to the inquiries later. And that's future money. And I might have already been paid. I might be worried about it. But I need to focus on people who have now. Right. And I only have the bandwidth right now to focus on those who are already booked. And so I wrote a post about like, hey guys, what's up? Sometimes I fall behind on my emails, and people who work with me know that like I don't play about my deadlines. Like, right. If you book me, you can get your pictures on time, you can get your sneak peek on time, and I don't play about those things. When it comes to admin stuff, it's not really my strong suit. But that's not really what you booked me for, is it? Right. Right. Yeah. And it was so popular, and it was so cool because I got a bunch of messages from other entrepreneurs saying like, this is a whole vibe. Yes. Like, you're seeing like, yeah, I ain't really good at these emails and such, but that ain't what you putting your money down for. Right, because you're paying for the artist. Right. Yes. That's and so I've been kind of like making myself like, all right, if they think I'm weird, they can just chalk it up to being an eccentric artist and call it a day. Right. But the honesty there too is good. Yeah, I got followers off of that post, and it was so wild because I was like, all right, for sure, I'm gonna be canceled. Our level of canceled, right. Being like at whatever level we are. I don't know what that would look like. I don't want to find out. No, we don't want to know. No way. But like I was thinking, like, maybe I shouldn't have posted that. And every time I have that second thought when I post something, I'm like, I shouldn't have posted that. I was getting reinforced from someone before I could even go back and delete it, listening like, thank you so much for posting that. Exactly. Those are the things that people want to hear and they want to see because it makes you human. So now it's like, oh, okay, yeah, this photographer I hired, even if they haven't met you, it's sometimes hard to humanize that person. Yeah. Like oh yeah, they're a human too. So I think it helps people relate, and which is like helps them get to know you. It's helped build trust. It was something you said in our call. You said, on some of my pricing. And you said, and I'm paraphrasing here because I'm not really good at directly quoting. Well, something along the lines that like, maybe I need to do this for the people who come after me. Oh, yeah. I was like, whoa. All right, this will be a part where I pause the podcast. Like, all right, Miranda, it's enough pressure for the day. You did tell me, you were like, we need to pause. I need to go get a glass of wine. Right. It's like, I know this is too deep. Yeah. This is too deep. But like when I commit to myself, like, wait, if I keep following these rules, whether or not they're good for me, I'm telling everybody who's watching me, because like I think we always have having that public presence, no matter how big or small our audience may or may not be. Because even when you have followers, you don't know really who's your audience, right? There's always somebody who's watching you who wants to do something, either what you're doing or something like what you're doing, right? Even if they haven't recognized that yet. And so if I commit to just doing stuff the way that I've been taught to doing it, whether or not it's good for me, I'm telling them, this is the way I do it. Especially this is the way I do it. And you have to be like a functioning human, just do it this way, regardless of whatever. It's like when we were talking about the diary thing earlier. So it's going like, like this is the way to do it. And you should always do it this way. If you don't do it this way, you're deviating from the plan. And if you fail, this is why. So if I can just like function as myself and what's good for myself, and then fold everything else into this process. And so people like, yeah, I don't answer emails every 24 hours, but that's, if you want corporate shit, then go corporate. Like, it's just, I'm gonna get to you. I promise I'm gonna get to you. Yeah. But sometimes, life just be tripping.
And that, I mean, right. I have people that text me because I mean, when I work with clients, like the door to communication is always open in between meetings, but I don't always respond right away. Sometimes I do because I'm on my phone or like I'm paying attention, but then there are times where I'm like, well, it's 10 o'clock. I can't answer this right now. Like, and then I'll forget. And then, so then it's just a follow-up later, but and that's okay. But I can't, as someone who coaches people to like be authentic and create a plan that works for them. It also took me a while to like take my own advice and be like, if I'm going to take a week off from podcast, my business isn't going to fail. I'm not going to, it's not going to break. It doesn't mean I'm a failure. It's just like, man, I talk a lot and I'm not going to talk this week. And that's okay.
Even the idea is subversive in a way. Right? Because it's counter to what all the hustlers and such who are in your lane who are telling you like, no, you have to do it this way.
Right.
Make $600,000 a year if you just follow this plan and follow these rigid rules, right? But it's completely like to go in your own lane. You don't know what it looks like on the back end, but you don't really know what their lane looks like, but you know what's been sold as.
This is a critique I always have of like the coaching industry is that, or just anyone in general who says like, forge your own path, be authentic, pay for this plan I created for myself that worked for me, pay for it. And that's how I'm making money,
This is how to be a rebel.
Right.
All these 10 easy steps.
Yes, exactly. That drives me crazy. So it's just like, okay, so what I try to do, I mean, my process is the same for every person. It's structurally, right? Like what you get a one-page brand guide, you get a marketing action plan, but the conversation itself is not structured.
Right.
It's very open. And the plan is tailored to whatever your business needs are and your personality is and who your audience is. And so that's why I always focus on the basics like that.
That's what to my clients, like, especially one of my clients, like, all right, I want to see some information, but this is all to be a guide, especially if you're lost. This kind of help you, like, figure out, like, all right, where you want to go, or how things like, sometimes we just like, okay, I don't have a template. I don't know what I'm doing or, how I'm supposed to go. But if you already got like stuff in mind, location, like stuff, like we can go with that too, or we can do like a blend of both. But this is just kind of help you to kind of keep you on track if you just feel overwhelmed and don't know where to start.
It's
only serve as a guide.
Yeah.
Like it's not to be like, okay, these are the rules. You first got to do this part, this part, and this part, this part.
Right.
Like, no, we're gonna just kind of vibe with it. But this is something like you feel like, oh, good, there's a plan.
Right. And there are people that want both, right? And I think initially a lot of people either they come to me thinking they need like someone to tell them what to do, or they come to me and they know that most of the time they have like a gut instinct that they want to do it their way, but they need someone to validate that that's okay.
Yeah.
And I don't know, sometimes you tell me this idea, I don't know if it's going to work. Like, but I can support you through this process. And if it doesn't work, then we can evaluate and talk about why it didn't work. But and so it's like when people ask me, I help people proof and edit things sometimes. And like, well, what do you think? Which one would you pick? I'm like, oh, which one would you pick?
It's depends on like you, Michelle. I don't know you internally.
Yeah, like you have to decide. So a lot of times I will answer a question with a question because I want like a therapist to decide. Yeah.
Yeah. It's your sessions are a lot like it's like therapy, but like in the most beautiful way. Like not like therapy, like therapy like I don't know whatever people's worst ideas about therapy might be. But like in like you allow for that's what it is. You allow for self-exploration as a part of your process. That is not it's like that's the most ridiculous thing I ever heard. Like you know what I mean? Like it's like you allow people to really interrogate their thoughts and their feelings about their business. It's like it's kind of like you come in knowing like, all right, you got all the tools, you know the answers. I'm just help you like kind of just like an archaeologist or like it's kind of like scrape away the dirt and figure out like what you have here. Right. Let's pull pieces together.
That's a nice compliment.
I hope it was coherent.
Yeah, no, I got it. It's like, totally that's what it is. It's like,
because I think you and your business, I use that synonymously because I feel like we are our business. We might be like business people, but I feel like we create businesses that we are. But I feel like you attract intuitives, right? And so people who know but don't know if they know.
Yes.
You help them uncover that, much like a good therapist. Like, you're like, you don't know if this person's good for you.
Oh gosh.
You know what I mean? Like, all right, so why do you think they're bad for you? Oh, is that how you feel? Well, maybe you should make some changes. What changes? You
already know. You already know. And that's the thing. Sometimes it feels like this role is, sometimes it feels too easy. Like, I'm getting paid to do this.
But that's how all of our I'm going to stay phone. That's how a lot of our skills feel, because it doesn't feel like a skill to us. It's something that we've been honing for years, right? Like, you didn't just start this, no matter how old your business is, you didn't just start this that year. Like, it's all the experience from like Miranda from birth, all the way up until now. And so like people like, oh, how long have you been doing it? It's like, okay, well, if I've been doing this 5 years, I have 5 years experience. No, it's all these things that shaped behind the scenes that you wouldn't put on a resume, that shaped all of this to be in this part.
So the my life coach is Tammy Helfrich, but in her book, which I don't have behind us, I should put it up there. But in her book, one of the concepts that people are like resonating the most with is this idea of like going back, because we all have it. We get so far away from like our intuition and our gut, and so
that's a whole 2-hour podcast.
Oh. So
podcast, like the podcaster we were talking about earlier. That's a whole that's an after hours podcast.
Right. It is because it's a whole tangent. But what she talks about and how she helps people is to like, what did you do when you were a child? What did you do for fun? So some people play school, like Tammy was a teacher, and that makes sense because she assumes a coach role and like an educator role. And I always played talk show host. Always.
Really?
Like, I used to have remember those blow up chairs, the very 90s like bubble chairs?
I had those inflatables, man. I had an inflatable alien, inflatable couch.
Oh my gosh.
I got from Spencer's.
Yeah. Yes. I had like one of those purple see-through phones. But right next to my blow-up chair.
That's a whole generation ago.
It is.
Or 2, maybe. I don't know.
I'm sure it will be back. I bet
it has to be. It has to be back. If I see teenagers wearing Tupac shirts, then that has to come back.
Yeah. But so when I thought about that, and like I vividly remember I wanted to be Oprah. Like I wanted to, I wanted to have people sit down and have a conversation because I know that's like a talent of mine. And then it got reaffirmed and lost. And people always are like, what's your passion? But I could never say like photography or art or music.
Because you've been trained out of it. It's like so many things that train you, like schooling, workplace environments that train you out of who you are.
Yes.
Like one of the things I've learned about since I've become a mom is like, children don't need a personality installed. There's a personality there. That's what fastest of my son I recognize, like, that's from your dad. So especially when he dances, I'm like, you got your daddy's rhythm. Yeah.
Rebel also got her dad's rhythm, correct.
One day he's gonna be like, hey, that wasn't a compliment. But like they don't need but there's other parts of him that his dad and I just laugh about. Like that's just Ro. Right. That's him. Mm-hmm. They don't need a personality installed, they just need a guide. And so I think sometimes we're trained out of that. Like when I wanted to go to art school. My mom was really upset when I wanted to go to art school, right? And it was a point of contention. Contention a word or
contention?
Yeah. Between us for a bit, like how she reacted when I went to art school. I went to art school for a bit and I dropped out. I'm like, but that's a whole other topic. Like why I dropped out of art school and went to Loyola. But we recently had a conversation and she was telling me like, she's like, I remember when I knew you were special. I was like, wait, mom, because we're on FaceTime, like, I'm gonna screen record this just to have this for posterity. She's like, really? What happened to this? But she was, but she talked about that and she was talking about like, yeah, we used to go to art school and we reacted. I was thinking like later, like, Karen, this has always been who she was. Why are you upset? Like, she's like, I remember us laughing about you being the flower child when you were a kid, just being like sitting in front of 7-Eleven, writing paintings and handing out flowers, like, have a great day to people, right? Not asking for money, just being like, yeah, have a flower, have a great day. And she's like, this has always been who she is.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you expecting something different? It's like we're shaped to show that our realities as kids have been ridiculous. I've been drawing and doodling and into visual arts. Like nobody had to introduce that to me.
You were just into it.
Yeah. Like since I was a kid. I'm not really great at drawing. I'm jealous of people who can draw. I take pictures because I can't draw.
Marshall can draw, so he went to school for illustration.
I'm so jealous of people who can draw. I'm like, yeah, I have to take pictures. I need something to start with, and then I go from there.
And then you create.
But like it's like, and it's become more evident when I become a mom. Like, there's certain things my kid likes, and I don't get it. And in my experience, I don't see what he's passionate about being useful in my experience, right?
Right.
But I know he has a lane. I trust that he has a lane, and he's going to find his lane. So I have to I have to be able to, from what I know now, it's like, so I'm like, I'll lean into his lane. Like, all right, what you like about that? What you dig about that? But it's I think that the beautiful part about COVID, the pandemic, is a lot of people are rediscovering who they were as kids.
Yes.
Like I used to remember being on my grandmother's porch and like plucking leaves from trees and just like studying the seeds and stuff like that. And pretending I was making food and stuff. Like now I have like 22 plants. Like I've never been to plants before. When I get plants.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny.
But like we're rediscovering like play.
Yes. And that's so wild. It's so sad because, and I can tell you, I mean, I see it happening with Marshall and I, like we got a house and we got a puppy. So sometimes, and like my best friend and her husband, they have 2 kids now and one has disabilities. So it's like you responsibility yourself out of your playtime.
Yeah.
And then you wonder why you're not fulfilled or happy, and it's not your partner's fault and it's not your job's fault, you know, but it's like, it comes down to a time thing. So you do have to prioritize it.
You do.
And I told my therapist, I thought I just needed a hobby. And she was like, she like laughed at me and she was like, you don't need a hobby. You need to learn to sit still. Like you don't, we're talking about your schedule constraints and how busy you are. And you think you need to add something to the mix. Like, no.
So it's that productivity thing. Yes. We're always going to be productive, make something, be productive, like make something that's like creating something, right?
And I thought in my mind I was like missing out on something, but I've structured my job and you structured your job in a way that is our is our passion.
Yeah.
And it's a part of
our play.
Yes.
When I'm playing, I'm taking pictures of just random stuff.
Oh my gosh, it's so fun. And like for me, I record the podcast. That's fun. Like I love recording it. I don't like the admin work behind it to get it out there.
Man, if I could like do my job without admin work, I'd be like a goat, man. I'd be the greatest of all time.
Oh my God,
well, that's a goal. Like if I could not answer emails and not do the back end of that, like
there are people that want to do that. There are people that make a living doing that.
Yeah, but I've tried to find an admin who enjoys that part, but I've also learned that I don't really know how to contextualize myself and my needs to another person. Like, okay, what do you need admin wise? Like, that's your job. I don't know. Figure it out. I don't know this admin stuff. Like,
you just write it down as you're doing it. You just like, that's why you just have to observe the process and then give them the notes. You're like, this is everything I do. I can give you, my business coach has a website for it's like a virtual assistant woman. This woman trains virtual assistants or something. And so then she helps, it's like a matchmaker for virtual assistants. So I'll give you that.
For everybody I've hired I'm sorry, assistants and former assistants. It's like,
well, that's sometimes right.
You do like, oh no, you want to come over and drink Christmas week.
That's like the hard part about hiring help sometimes is you have to be able to communicate the type of help that you need. And so it seems like more work up front.
It feels, especially somebody who gets anxious about that lane and doesn't really want to, like, okay, I answer emails. What do you mean you tell them? Like, tell them the weights. All right, we're talking. We're having a good time. Just tell them the weights. Wait, why we want a response? We can respond when we can.
No,
I remember I was speaking of play. I was talking to some friends, giving something, and I was asking. I was like, "Hey, random question. When's the last time you've played in the rain?" And like, what? I'm like, what? Like, the last time he was like, it's raining outside. I'm gonna go outside and just like feel the rain on my skin, just like kind of play in the rain. I don't. It was like three or four people. And I was like, huh, maybe it's just me. And I'm like, no, it's just me. Y'all just suck because y'all play in the rain. It was a couple drinks in.
Yeah.
So actually said it's not just me.
Oh,
it's all that they suck, of course. But it was just like that. It was, the reaction was, they hadn't even thought about it. It's raining. We can't go outside. It's raining outside, right? Or like, let's hurry in the house. It's raining outside, especially in the winter rain. I don't play. It's cold. Well, it's wet. Cold. I don't do that. No. But like a rainstorm in July, just be outside. Just be like, it's raining. Or just splat. Like my son, even in college, I remember one of my friends in college was like, there's a puddle, let's go splash in. The first time she did, I was like, the hell? Who does that? In like 10, 15 minutes in, I was like, there's another puddle. Like, you know what I mean? It was like, we I'm sorry for going a bunch of different directions.
No, I think this is important.
We forget to just find those little joys. And people say that all the time without seeing what that means. Like,
yes.
Splashing in the puddles. Like, well, if I splash in the puddles, I'm going to get my shoes dirty. All right, go in the house, change your shoes, put on some shoes, you can splash some puddles in, right? Like, have your designated puddle jumpers.
Yeah, right.
But just forget, like, remembering to play. Whether you have children or you don't have children, just remembering to play. Like, just remembering to, like, it doesn't, not everything has to be constructive. Not everything has to like be.
Not everything has to be constructive.
Right. Everything has to be like,
or have like a purpose.
Create income or any of that. Just play. Just like if you have a notebook, doodle.
Yeah.
If you have some crayons, just start writing on a page. It don't have to be anything you can sell on Etsy.
Right.
But play, and play is more important to my life than I ever realized it was. I wish I played a long time ago. Because it feels like there's this gap, right? Like where you play, like, hey, that's ridiculous. Stop playing. It's time to focus on this stuff. You got to focus on homework, focus on work, focus on relationship and stuff like that. But like, if you could just add play to all those pieces of life, your life is that much richer.
Oh my gosh, it does. It fills in the gaps. And I feel like as adults, we talk ourselves out of play or the kids out of play because you're thinking through like, oh gosh, if she splashes in the puddles, then I'm gonna have to dry her off and wash all these clothes. And then, or the dog, like he's gonna need like a bath when he comes in.
Muddy, like stop rolling in the mud. He's not having a great time. Like, this mud is so muddy. Yeah, I love it when it's muddy. But you're like, I gotta, like, you're gonna track mud in the house. I'm gonna have to mop. I'm gonna have to do laundry. I'm gonna have to clean you. You hate baths. You think about all the future things you're talking yourself out of. It doesn't have this moment. Because how beautiful is it? Right. To just be like, it's mud. Mud is fun.
And mud is such an easy, like that could be cleaned up so easily, right? And you don't have to, that's just our own expectations to think like, well, I can mop today or tomorrow. Does anyone really care? Like,
I think we've been punished a lot in our lives, especially like as being the 24-year-olds we are. I'm kidding. But we've been punished so much in our lives for not having foresight, right? I'm like, you should have seen this coming. This is only your fault. You should have saw this coming. You should have saw all these pieces ahead of you. But it's sometimes like to be present, sometimes you can't think about those things. And if you don't think about those things, sometimes it's just okay. I'm not saying to be reckless. But if I bounce like it's okay, like, all right, if you get muddy, I'll clean up the mud. Right. And if you clean up the mud and you clean up the mud with resentment, being like, if they just didn't do that, I wouldn't be here hating my life because I'm cleaning up mud, right? Because I clean up this mud. But it's just finding joy and play. It's so much more powerful. I'm like, all right, Emily, don't cry because it'd be weird because you already drink a bunch of champagne. So don't cry because it'd be weird. But
it's not gonna be weird.
It's so much more essential. Like it's even being a divorcee, is how you say it, or divorcee?
Yeah, I think.
I wish I remembered to play when I was married or before I got married or when I was. I just wish I remembered to play so many other parts of my life, but I'm also unbelievably grateful that I'm only 36. Oh, and I remember to play.
And how old's Ro?
He's 6.
He's 6, and Rebel's 6. And so I think that at that age they know, but this is the age where they start to get. I don't like to use the word sanitize, but kind of, because they're in school.
And they're starting to get that conformity.
Yeah,
age.
the conformity. And so I think so we go back and forth in our house a lot because Rebel is an artist and she
was named for it.
Yeah.
Are you kidding?
And her dad is an art. Now that she found out her dad was an art, he is, but he doesn't flex that muscle very much, but she will say, well, why don't you draw, Dad? You're the artist, and so she's kind of like challenging.
Yeah.
And so
go Rebel. I hope he hears this one day. Like, go Rebel.
She will, I'm sure. Isn't that weird to think about too? We won't think about that, but
so the diary thing you're talking about.
Exactly. They're gonna be able to watch it. So she before bedtime, so she goes up to bed early so she can listen to a CD of her book on CD. And then while she does that, she listens and she crafts. And like that craft time is so important to her bedtime routine that she will go up. Like if you give her the opportunity, you can stay up late and finish the end of the movie, or you can go up and have Junie B. Jones and craft time. And she's like, every time, Junie B. and craft time.
Like it's a wrap. All right.
Let's go.
Get my ritual.
Yeah, she loves it. And then she's to the point now where she do things. So if we have a box or whatever, and she's like, don't throw that away. And I will say, well, it's just trash, or like a milk jug or something. And she'd be like, but I make art out of trash. And I'm like, oh my God.
So that's a conflict. You're like, all right. I don't want to be the person who's like hindering the artist.
Swapping the dreams.
Right. You'll be like her in an interview 10 years from now, like, yes, I remember.
The suppressed artist.
She threw away my tools.
Oh my gosh.
It changed me.
So I'm like, okay. But then we compromise. Well, you got the box last time. This one won't recycle because you just like, we can go up there and see. She's just collecting boxes. And then, we had a really long box and I went in to say goodnight and she's like, look, I turned it into a boat. And she did. And she had made oars. I don't know where she got that cardboard, but like she created a whole fantasy world, And then the other thing was like, when I realized how important it was to her, we were cleaning her room and I said, let's just recycle some of these, like the art projects that are just laying around. And she was resisting it, but I kind of forced it because she has on her bedroom wall, like a whole collage of art and photos. And I was like, you have a ton up there. Let's just recycle this one.
Yeah.
And she had a full-blown meltdown to the point where Marshall came in and was like, what's happening? And I was like, I asked her to recycle this headband that she made, And so now the rule is she can keep it if she hangs it up because she just has stacks of art.
That's like Ro, like he's very much like his dad. And he's like Taurus, like a little into astrology. So he's very grounded into earth and physical things, right? And so like when he plays with his toys, sometimes he breaks them. And I used to get frustrated with them. I'm like, well, I talked to him about this. I'm like, these plastic toys weren't really made to help, but kind of play. I'm saying you're curious. So don't worry, like if you break it, it's no big deal. It just weren't like, for the kind of exploration you're doing, it just breaks. And so sometimes like broken pieces, he wants to keep them around the house. But like seeing this stuff, I'm like, these broken, like it unnerves me when seeing like this broken, it's coming to the house, like all these broken toys. I don't feel great about myself as a mom, seeing all this broken stuff. Like, look, look, the house is a mess. Got all these broken pieces of like these Lego parts or Hot Wheels parts. And so we have this ritual now, like before, I don't throw away anything of his without his consent, right? So I just like talk to him first. And so I'm like, oh God, this is so hard. But it's his, and I'm trying to like respect him as any other human being or adult in my household. And so we have this ritual, like, all right, we go through his toys, like, hey, you want to keep this? Like, well, yeah, I do want to keep it. I have a lot of fun with that. It's like, well, you got a lot of fun with it. We can talk to it and thank it and saying, hey, I really had fun with you. And I really appreciate it when we did this. And I don't use you anymore, but it's not because I don't appreciate you. So we have like this whole, like anything we throw away, right? And it sounds tedious to people who like, no, I just want to clean. I'm clean, I'm gonna put it away, right? But it's the same thing I do for the things like if I'm getting rid of a shirt that's torn, that's like a shirt that I had a ball in, or I had a good time in. Excuse that little voice change. Or like it's certain things we just appreciate for different reasons. I'm like, man, it was such a blast. And I have some great memories of you. And like, I was part with it. I can't give it away because it's like, people at Goodwill, they don't want your shirt that has a hole in it. You don't want to wear it and it's like faded and everything. They don't want that stuff either. So you got to throw it away. And like, thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you so much. We have to part here and I would be sad about it, but I'm glad we crossed paths. And it sounds so boo-boo. So whenever I talk to like, some people, I'm like, you think you're trash before you throw it away.
No, but it's so nice.
But it's like a closure,
it's
right?
Closure.
It's like if you were going through a breakup with anybody else. Somebody told me the other day, that like all relationships end, right? Like all relationships end. Like sometimes it's a breakup, sometimes it's death, sometimes divorce. It's like all these other
sometimes
pieces,
you go apart,
right? So all relationships end, and when you see things, when I understood things in that way, and recognize like, all right, it's become hard to be sad about something ending because like we're parting at this point, but I'm so grateful.
Yes. And to acknowledge that, and I think for your kids to see that it's okay to have an ending, right? Because a lot of times people, they don't talk about that. Rebel has experienced a lot of divorce and separation in her life. So she's very acutely aware of the fact that relationships end. And so that's to the point where Marshall and I spat or bicker in front of her. She's like, is this going to end? Are we done? Like, are you guys breaking up now?
Right.
And we're like, no. So you also have to show kids that you can have like a peaceful conflict.
Yeah.
And resolution.
Yeah. So it's like, I'm like, I'm not happy with Dad right now, but sometimes I'm just not happy, and I'm trying to figure out if it's like, is this valid? If we talk about something, or like it's like letting them see, trust them to see the facets of life as life is, because life is going to reveal itself to you, whether or not your parents teach you about it. Life is going to show you. Life can be like, all right, your parents might have had you sheltered. Let me show you how it really is out here. Like
people who say their parents never argued. That doesn't exist.
It does not.
So they didn't argue in front of you, which has now done you a disservice because you think that's what love looks like.
Or you have some really repressed parents who also were not happy.
Or they're just like losing their minds or completely shut off. So either any of those, I mean, and also you don't want to always argue in front of your kids. You want them to feel safe and stable in the house. But
the only person I argue with at this point in my life is my son. Because I'm like, all right, I have to argue with I have this whole rule like where I'm like, I live alone. So I'm like, or for the most part, so my son's there. And so I live alone. I'm like, if you don't live with me, I ain't gotta argue with you. I just go home.
Right.
Right. And so my son, I've taught him, he has his name, because I taught him to like rebel, right? Like, all right, be stubborn, challenge, go for what you want,
ask questions,
right? Go for, if you want something, just rock with what you want.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's frustrating, but like he'll be like, hey, pick it up. Why? I like it right there. Oh, like, because I keep stepping on the damn thing.
Yes.
And I get irritated when I step on it. You step on it, it's your issue, right? And it was like, I'm talking to myself and he's talking to me. I'm hearing him talk to me like my inner speak talk to me, because you talk to your kids like your inner speak. And then your inner speak becomes their thoughts about themselves, right? So it's this whole weird ass loop that nobody's told us about before we got involved with raising another generation. Right. But so he challenges me, and like sometimes, like a lot of times, and I'm recognizing about my parents and my elders, like a lot of times we're just talking to ourselves when we're arguing. And I have to be able like to validate. It's like arguing has like a bad connotation to it, everything like arguing, it's like it's a negative, arguing negative, right? But sometimes it's just a debate. Like, let's challenge each other on these thoughts, because I won't challenge you if I don't like you or love you. I won't. I'll be like, all right, I ain't
I'll shut down. I'll back off. I don't care.
Right. Like, all right, whatever. Yeah. Okay. Like, this person cashier said, can't have this $3 discount because it's expired. Like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
You just on your power trip, whatever. I'll pay $3. I got the $3. I'm not gonna argue with you about these $3. Yeah. But like him challenging me, it's like I'm reminding myself that like, all right, if I have somebody who I want to question authority and not just be like consistently following, I have to validate his challenges as if it's another adult being like, well, why I gotta do that? I want to show another adult, I'm like, Miranda, just do what I say. That'd be weird. Like,
that would be so weird.
What? Like, Miranda, give me some champagne. Like, what? Do what I say, Miranda. Like, that'd be weird as hell. Be like, all right, we won't have that person over.
Exactly.
So I try to treat him with that same dignity, and it's been a challenge for me. But when I tell people I argue with my 6-year-old, like, that's disrespectful. Like, what? He should do what you say. Like, no, because if he does what I say, he's unquestioning authority. He's gonna do that for everybody else.
Yes. That's what I mean. My brother and I joke about how like we're not scared to argue with anyone because we had to argue with my mom. So
I argue. I tell you all the time, like, look, if I can tell my grandmother no, and I can argue with my grandmother, my great grandmother, and my mother, you ain't got no damn chance.
No, and that like in an environment, so that I worked in an environment where we had a very toxic boss who would sometimes.
That's how we become entrepreneurs, isn't
yes,
it?
it is. That was it for me. That was the last straw. And, you know, and I've had like the gamut of horrible male bosses to where I had to explain to my brother one time, he wasn't like during the Me Too movement, you know, where I was like, no, this is true. Like it, like here's the restaurant manager who, when I quit, grabbed my flip-flops and smacked me on the butt and said he'd been waiting to do that. But since I was no longer an employee, he could do it. Then I had the accounting manager who gave me an internship, and I used to like stagger my hours because of traffic, and I would go, it was like in Des Plaines or something. So I would stagger my hours, and we ended up being at the office late. And I realized I kind of looked like his wife a little bit, and like with the curly hair, and she was white, and that freaked me out early on. And then one night he came over and he just sat on my desk and he was like, you know, I really like that skirt you got on. And this man had a rule that you couldn't wear shoes in the office, and that was a big red flag. And I told my mom, and she's like,
fetish much?
And I like, can you wear slippers or socks? You know, my mom's like, I was living at home sending me all these things. I was like 20, you know,
you see a baby, especially in that environment. You are a baby.
An internship, trying to get a raise, and like trying to get the credit. And
all the ways people build up internship, like, wait, if you do this, get your foot in the door. If you get the foot in the door, then you have all these opportunities. If you fail this, you fail life.
Especially at the colleges we went to, and then in the school of business, like internships were everything. Yes. And this guy was also the owner of the restaurant I worked at school, so I didn't want to mess it up. And then he did that, and I thought, I'll never stay late again. And let this motherfucker try something, because he picked the wrong one. It's not going to be me. Like, this is creepy, but it's not going to be me. And then that led to another later, as a marketing director, I had another toxic boss, and the women in the office warned me about arguing with him and they said, you know, we've made mistakes before, and he's thrown packets of paper in our faces. And I just said, oh my God, doesn't he have 2 bad vertebrae? Like, I know what's wrong with him, and he's not gonna, like, no. And so it's just that type of, some of it is just self-respect. And so like when you can teach your kid that it's okay to argue, in a respectful manner, and that it's teaching them self-respect. It's because it's saying I can defend my point, and my point is valid too, even if ultimately you're like, you pick up the dice. Like, actually, you know, I got in an argument with somebody about this, about she said her 13-year-old was disrespecting her and disrespecting her teacher, because like, so he got in trouble at school, and it was a whole backstory to this, like, you know, like what the challenges they have right now. He got in trouble at school, and the teacher was trying to tell his mom what happened, and she said he kept interrupting the teacher, and it was really disrespectful, and so he got like grounded for that. He's on grounded for a week. Like, how do you interrupt the teacher? He's like, he kept saying like, that's not true, this is what happened. I was like, well, for me personally, and even for my kid and how I understand life, and this is just my perspective, I'll be damned if I let somebody lie about me in front of my face. Yes. You say, Emily, remember that time you came over and you was like uprooted all my plants in my yard? Like, I didn't do. I'm not gonna let you finish that story. No. If you tell somebody, like, I'm not gonna let you finish that story. Like, wait, what? I didn't do that. Or I like, actually, you asked me to pull it, or Marshall asked me to pull it up. And you didn't see that part. It's defending themselves. Like, well, no, he should have just saved it until we were out of the teacher's office. But it's if I can't teach you to if you don't understand to step with yourself in that realm, right? It's only going to become harder from here, right? If I don't listen to your concerns as a 6-year-old, you don't come back at 20 and be like, all right, mom, you'll hear me now. Right. I've already set the precedent for our relationship, right? I already set the precedent for you standing up for yourself and being like, all right, it's like being like argumentative, that's respectful. No, because sometimes people are wrong. My great grandmother, one of my favorite memories of my great grandmother, I don't remember what we were bickering about.
And she's like, she always said this, and it got on my nerves so much when she said it. I was like maybe 16, 17. She's like, you young people think you know everything. And I was like, you old people always think y'all know everything. And she just started cracking up laughing.
I don't know. I feel like my grandma would have smacked me.
But she was like of that age, but she just started cracking up laughing because like nobody's ever said that. Usually kind of like, you know, people think you know everything and kind of like just go and huff, like go into another room, but nobody said anything back. Like, you old people always think y'all know everything. You always tell them what to do. And she started cracking up laughing. And we left it that.
Yes. Because that's what it is sometimes.
Right? Because it's like nobody has all the answers.
No.
Right?
Now, so like what my therapist said yesterday was, remember how you treat Rebel now is going to determine what type of teenager she's going to be. And that is like a really, I mean, it's a very true statement, but glaring, like, like, whoa, okay, right, like then. Stop me in my tracks.
Pause.
So, right. So it's self-respect. And I think when you go from, what's interesting is like as a daughter raised by a single mother, I was the one counseling my male friends on how to negotiate a raise at their jobs. Like, how is that a thing? Like I don't know. What did your dad teach you? Like, right. No, you didn't learn. And so the amount of people that just accept what's handed to them, which I think is when you choose to be an entrepreneur, you're rejecting that, right?
You are.
That narrative.
All my toxic bosses, or not all of them, because I have few. Yeah. A lot of my toxic bosses that I'm really grateful for, because I feel like sometimes you feel like you need to have like a plethora of experience and something before you've gotten to yourself, right? Like I was talking about before, like how you had to be years of Miranda before you got here. A lot of my toxic bosses were women.
I had a few of those too.
Yeah, and it's a weird ass dynamic because they're replicating what they've seen the patriarchy do, right? And they want to show the people the patriarchy, because not everything is like a chain of command that's all women, right? It's like a chain of command that's like, all right, we brought a woman in. So here we go. And so she has to prove to all her colleagues and such that like I can be just as brutal, if not more brutal. Tough.
Yeah.
But like a lot of the time, women. Wait, where's I going with that?
We were talking about toxic bosses and self-respect, and
so it's okay. Thank you. Sorry, I was at least like once the conversation, I'm like, wait, where's I going with that? But like it's become like it's all become like a part of being challenged from on both by both sexes or both genders. Not all the way sure how to tell it that way right now. But like being challenged by both is giving me the opportunity to not be like when I come out of it being like, okay, I'm out here because I don't want to work with men again. Right. It's like I've been able to view the thing holistically, like, all right, this system is causing these people to function in this weird ass way. Yeah. Right. And I know who I am, and the more people I work with, it's like you get more opportunities to see who you are and what's benefit to you, what's a detriment to you. And so like I've gotten a lot of trouble for being confrontational,
argumentative,
comes with this sometimes. And just being a person who always has an issue with something, even if I do something that's like simple as asking a question, but like having that range of educators and doctors, and there's people in different facets of life, and supervisors and managers and bosses and such. Something like, okay, it's not the males who are the problem, it's not the females who are the problem, it's this system that I can't function in. So I need to figure out a way to put myself outside of it. And if I had never been the kind of person who questions things or just blind accepting things, I would have never gotten the opportunity to challenge that.
Right.
And so I have to show him how to challenge things, even if it challenges me. And a lot of times it challenges me. And then when it challenges me, I'm like, oh, then I was challenging my parents, right? You see, you're seeing all your history in different light, like, oh, that's why my mom was really upset in that moment, because I challenged her. It wasn't I did anything outlandish. She was like, Right. And I have to reassess my whole history, right?
Right.
If people don't like it, what do you do?
Okay, so this is so interesting. So it's like, okay, in my family, they always encourage debate, and it's like intelligent conversation and stuff. But there was always that underlying, but like ultimately the authority says, like ultimately grandpa says or mom says or dad says, and you respect that, right? And so what's interesting then, when you get to know the adults in your life as adults, as humans, and you're an adult and you're like looking back, my grandpa wrote a book, just looking back at all of the ways they never did. They continually like questioned authority and pushed back and took risks and did their own thing.
They don't remember that part.
Or they want to protect you because it was hard.
Right.
It was a harder route, right? Than maybe just staying quiet and staying.
But they don't know how hard the easy route is. Because when you see people who
stuff it down,
when you talk about how people who resent that they're kind of this assembly line thing in their business, right?
Yes.
And they feel like they have to keep doing this way because people are always expect it. We think that's the easier route from the outside. That's not the easier route. No. It's also soul crushing. Because at least on this side, you have the benefit of self-expression.
Right.
You have the benefit of like, okay, I said my piece. I could have been wrong. And a lot of people aren't expressing themselves because they're afraid of that one piece. Mm-hmm. If I say it, it might be wrong. If I'm wrong, that's terrible. Right.
And we live in a time that is kind of unforgiving in that regard.
Because it's recorded forever.
It's recorded, and people we were talking about early sound bites.
Right. So sound bite conversation earlier.
Yeah.
Like, oh, like you listen to their podcast? Right. Oh my gosh, you're canceled too.
Yeah, exactly. So it's that we live in a culture that doesn't account for the nuance. I mean, cancel culture doesn't account for the nuances of like conversation. Yeah. When you're having a 2-hour conversation with someone, or even a 1 hour, even 30-minute conversation, you could say some things. I could say some things that are like, oh, maybe I would have said that better next time. But
like everything in our culture right now, especially to be a business, right? Like when you think about like stories, like the longest a story can be is like 60 seconds or 30 seconds, right? Mm-hmm. Or a reel or a TikTok or I don't know anything, a Snapchat or whatever the hell. Okay, I'm coming in 40, okay? So I don't know what the other things are. So I'm just saying things, but everything's like a snippet.
Yes.
Everything's a snippet. And so if you can't say it like that, then you might as well not say anything at all. You run the risk of being like very wrong because you need to be able to truncate everything into this little box, but nothing works like that.
No, I mean, that's not how life is.
No.
And if you get it wrong in that 60 seconds, then you in life, you're like, oh, okay, well, fuck it. We'll do it tomorrow.
Right.
Like we'll try it again tomorrow. But
like, I'm so grateful. That's one thing I'm unbelievably grateful for. Like, I can't imagine being a teen right now.
I was thinking.
I can't imagine being like awkward. Can you imagine being 11 and having records of being 11? All the stuff you thought at 11 years old or 20, even 21.
Oh no!
Can you imagine that?
Hell no!
Like, oh my!
I don't want
it. God, I don't need that negativity.
My journal is hard enough to digest it from that time.
So like to be able to have had some kind of like. And we've grown up we were the first generation of the internet age, right? We were the first generation of AOL and AIM and all that such. But even then we had like tying up the phone lines. Your parents didn't let you tie up the phone lines all day.
Oh my gosh. Remember you had to like get the phone line and take it to the phone and hope your cord was long enough.
Like talking to some boy I had a crush on, like, and disconnect, like, Mom!
Yeah.
Mom, I was talking to somebody. Okay, well, I had to make a phone call. Call something to your grandmother, like, no, get off the phone. Right. How much
arguing for the phone? I mean, come on.
But like, I can't imagine it. But like, it's become to the point where nuance still exists, and culturally we still have nuance, but we're being told that it doesn't exist because these platforms are telling us that they are humanity. Mm-hmm. Instagram is telling us they're reflective of humanity. Mm-hmm. Instagram is not reflective of humanity. No. Facebook is telling the same thing. No. Twitter, no. None of those things allow for nuance. And it's become more and more important to the more I'm on social media, the more I make it I'm sorry if this is like way off topic. But
no, that's good. We'll tie it back.
You're an air sign too, so it's okay. Yeah. The more I'm on social media, the more I make it a point to actually go out and socialize with people. I go to things, I go
Yes.
to events all the time.
Mhm.
Like even as like it's weird because being a single woman, I'm often the only person who's a single person
Right.
there. Because people are like, okay, if my friends can't go, I won't go. And I like to do stuff scared because I'm like, all right, I be calling myself in my head like, you gonna be a punk or you gonna do it? I dare you go to this thing by yourself. I dare you go to this concert by yourself.
It's good for you.
And so, but I found that like I have more in common with people who on paper who would be ideologically like on paper. If they had like a dating profile,
Right,
Instagram
right.
profile, I look at it and be like, oh God, I don't even want to know them.
Right.
Forget them. Like they are into, politically this way, and they believe in like pro-choice or pro-life or any of this stuff, right? But like when we segment stuff like that, that's for data.
Yeah.
That's for social media, right?
Yes.
We're siloing ourselves all for this data. We don't have to do that.
Right.
We can have a conversation and be completely like, ideologically in different places and not come into a common space. But usually people who are arguing about that stuff aren't the decision makers. So we don't really have to, it doesn't really matter what conclusion we come to.
Right.
I don't remember the point I was going into with that.
What were we talking about? All right.
I'm sorry, sure. Dear listener.
What did we? Okay, but let's just tie it back now and wrap it up.
Okay.
I feel like we've been talking for a while. Okay.
What is it? Oh, dear God.
Oh, man. Okay, we went for it. So, okay, look at that. I feel like, okay, this hair.
Your hair looks absolutely awesome. Okay, I absolutely love your hair. And I was looking at her, I was like, you need to do another shoot.
Oh yeah, now it's changed. Oh, that's okay. So this is a perfect segue into the how we can wrap it up.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
So, thinking about back to the photo shoot because we went off on a tangent here. Yeah, but I think the most helpful thing for me to remember, especially when I was looking at my photos, is like, well, I can always do another one. Like there can always be another one. Like there's not just one photo shoot. You can have a photo shoot. Because I was thinking, I do like something a little with more athletic, like I work out and I talk about that sometimes, and you were like, I'll just come back. I'm like, oh yeah, you can come back. Like you could just come back.
It was a wrap. You get one, everybody gets one photo shoot per lifetime.
Yeah.
Sorry, ma'am.
Right. But it's the same with your business when you try. So to tie it into marketing, there's not just a one, like you don't just get to execute this one idea and then that's a wrap on your business.
Right.
You get to try it. And like even Marshall yesterday, I was talking about some ideas and he was like, well, maybe it's just time to mix it up, And I just really hate when he's right about the business stuff.
It's like a kid being right.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, oh, shut up. But then he was right. So, that's true. So like if it's feeling stale or uninspired or restrictive in any sort of way, we talked a lot about the like restrictive creatively or financially or with your schedule or whatever, but then try something new. What is your gut telling you that you don't need to pay me or pay you to figure out?
Right.
Because sure, pay me and I'll help you, but like you've got the answer.
Right.
And that's what my life coach always says. You have your own answers. And so
that's what I learned through you. Like it's like funny how you have like this whole system like behind you. Right?
Yeah.
Like that's like also like feeding to you, and you, and then you're feeding to other people. And I don't know, we got like when I was on the neutral thing earlier, I was like, I don't know we got the lessons, but I know it impacted me.
Right.
So it's all this.
And it's my take on it and your take on it. And like everyone is influenced by what we consume. And then it's people, who knows? You may hear that message 100 times, but because of the way I said it or you said it on this podcast, it's going to click.
Right. Yeah, I hope so. Really though. Hopefully like that wasn't coherent. I didn't understand what she was talking about.
You're going to need a drink for this one. So is there, two things. Is there anything else you want to say to the people about, anything, but specifically brand photography?
Oh yeah, that's where we started, right?
Yeah, that is.
Yes. So with brand photography, it's like anything else, like being almost 6 years into my business, I've learned that like, people say work and home life should be separate. And for me, that's not a real thing. Because I'm 100% Emily in any lane I'm in, right? I can't be anything else. Not that I can't. Let's change that. I don't want to be anything else, right? And so when it comes to brand photography, be you, because you should also do so with your brand, as I learned from a famous marketing coach recently, right?
Yes.
Like it's okay to just lean in to you. And if you're gonna lean into you should sound like you in, like, let's say your email templates or your social media. Also do so with your photos. So it might take you a bit to unpack that. If you have to hire a photographer, hire them once and you're not really feeling them, hire another photographer.
Right.
You're not really feeling them, like, all right, just try hiring them again, and maybe you can go in a different direction and thing. But sometimes we just evolve, right? But just go into it knowing that, like, hey, I can curse on this, right? Okay, I fucks with me. I fucks with me when I'm having a great day. I fucks with me if I'm having a bad day. But just like kind of like leaning in to you, and you're not gonna like all your pictures. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. No, I'm not sorry. That's life.
No, I think that's probably the best thing about the photo shoot. All of it was really good, but that is just reminding people you're not gonna like them all. There's gonna be like 100 or however many you're not gonna like 100%.
Right. It's like anything else in life, right? You stack up all the jobs you've had. You're not gonna like all the jobs you have. You stack up all the partners you've had. Like, it's like you're not going. You're like, whew.
Yeah.
That's what.
Right. That's for the after hours.
But like just rock with you and come in open to their process, and also recognize that depending on who you hire, we're all at different stages of our life. So you might not get someone who's self-aware in certain parameters and such. But give the creator and give your experts the room to be human.
Yeah, right. Okay, that's great.
Oh, good.
Yeah, that was really good. Give them the room to be human, and also give them room to do the job you hired them for.
Yes. Yeah.
Because when you're hiring a photographer and now you've assumed the role of the creative director, like, why don't you hire a photographer then? Just get your significant other to do it if you got it all planned out.
Right. And then it's also like we all think we're creative directors, and we all could be, because we spend so much time on social media and seeing all these images, right? You're seeing all these other people create images. And so sometimes when we hire people, any kind of expert, we already have this preconceived notion of what the end result is going to look like.
Right.
And when it deviates from that, it feels like a failure sometimes, right?
Yeah.
So it's because we're just looking at, like, my job has been especially hard because, like, people looking at images all day, every day. And so they think they have an idea of what they want or what the end result is going to be. And it's not always either the case, or it's not always realistic. When I say realistic, it's just, other than, like, my life doesn't look like a pin board. It just doesn't.
And that, right. And maybe work on the thought for that you don't have to portray that either. Like the perfectly curated.
And
images.
Interesting is so much better than perfect.
Yes.
Interesting in you. I promise you, whoever you are, I promise you are so much better and so much more interesting than perfect. I don't care. It just is. Like, whatever you replicate, whatever you're trying to replicate is going to be less interesting than you are. Yes.
Okay. So on that note, how do people get in touch with you? How do they hire you? How do they find you?
Why did I draw a blank?
I've been talking about every single.
Okay, Instagram is mtog, which I really like my name. EM.TOG, or you can email me at info@emilymelissaphoto.com. Emily and Melissa are all spelled the traditional way of Emily Melissa. But yes, Instagram, EM.TOG.
Yes. And if you are a couple or looking for a brand photo shoot, whatever and your Instagram is really fun. So people just check it out, because it is. You ask a lot of really good questions. You've been doing the questions in your stories, which I really like. And maybe that'll turn into something else. But thank you for being here. Finally, we did it. Yay.
We did a coherent episode.
With a start and an end and a whole crazy middle. We did it.
So cheers to that.
Cheers. Mine is, there's a little left. There you go.